Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, guys. Celtic Warband here, and thanks for tuning in to the final battle in the three-part series between Scotland and England. Apologies it's taken so long to wrap this series up. We did have an issue with the replay, but we have recreated the battle, and we have the final showdown between the King of Scotland and the King of England. So let's go ahead and take a look at these army comps. The first defending force on the battlefield today is the garrison of York, commanded by myself, and being that this is a garrison force, almost all of my infantry units are very cheap, because you wouldn't really find many elite units that were charged with garrisoning a town. The elite and well-trained units would have been under the direct control of the king, and probably in his standing army. So with that in mind, I've got a lot of these very cheap spearmen units here. They are early period spears. Again, this is a tier 1 battle only. So the spearmen would have been an excellent choice for garrison troops because they're pretty easy to train and also easy to equip as well. Very cheap to equip. You can see all they have is a helmet, a tunic, a spear, and a shield. I've also got a lot of longbowmen units. Again, a very staple archer unit for the English. They were well known for using their longbows, and they would have been representative in the garrison. I have about 6 units of the axe sergeants, which are just heavy shock infantry, or medium shock infantry, sorry. My best units are probably the sergeants here. They're just a staple tier 1 sword and shield infantry unit, but they're a little more heavily armored. You can see some of them actually have chainmail, so they'll be a little bit better than my spearmen. Over on this flank, I've got more of the same. I've got the longbowmen here, got some sergeants backing up the billmen. Now, the billmen also pretty lightly armored, but they are kind of my answer to any Scottish pikemen, and they would be tasked with holding strategic choke points within the town, so I believe I have 6 units of them. I also have 2 units of English knights here, tier 1, and I didn't bring too many cavalry units because, again, they wouldn't have really been necessary in garrisons. They would have been more in the King's army where he would be utilizing them in land battles. So I only have 2 units of them. And finally, way over here, I do have my general and his bodyguard here. The general, he is tier 2, just because I wanted to bring the English foot bodyguard. So he is pretty heavily armored, but his bodyguard is just a few units of axe sergeants. And that rounds out the garrison at York. So let's go ahead and take a look at the King's army next. The final defending force on the battlefield today is the King's army, commanded by Azrian Fox, and he kind of has a commander-sub-commander thing going on here. He did manage to rally some troops from nearby towns, and we do actually have a sub-commander here with a few of his garrison units, which have bolstered the ranks of the York garrison. So we'll take a look at the sub-commander first. So it is just a mounted sergeant unit, so this is probably the garrison commander from a nearby town, and he's brought a few of his garrison units as well. He's got a couple units of spearmen here, a couple units of axe sergeants. We've got another unit of axe sergeants in the back, and he's brought, as I said, a few spears to hold this bridge, and he's also brought a couple units of longbowmen. So it looks like this garrison commander has pretty much emptied his town of his garrison forces and brought them to York to hopefully hold back the Scottish at York. But the King's own army is holed up in this very fortified outpost here. You can see that he's bringing some of his mercenary Welsh longbows here. A lot of mercenaries in his forces, but the mercenaries are some of the best trained units in his army. He's also got a couple of English knights here just outside the fort, hidden in the trees. But for his forces, he's brought, as I said, a lot of the mercenary Welsh longbowmen. He's got the early period sergeants, a couple units of them. They're kind of formed up wherever they can and holding the gates with access into the compound itself. He's brought a artillery piece, more mercenary Welsh longbowmen back here, and his best infantry units here, he's brought 4 units of the English foot knights, which are very, very solid units. Hopefully they will be able to hold back the Scottish foot knights, which the Scottish king probably will have brought. He's also got a few units of billmen as well, and here is the king holed up in the very middle of the compound. The farthest away from the actual fighting is the English king himself, and you can see he is surrounded by his loyal bodyguard. And that is it for the English defending forces, so let's go ahead and take a look at the Scottish attacking forces. The first attacking army on the battlefield today is the Lord's Army, commanded by Bones RL, and the Lord's Army was the army responsible for sieging York while the Scottish king was out on his raids. So this is the army that was tasked with surrounding the city of York, but now they have collected themselves on a weakened section of the wall and will be attacking very soon. So let's go ahead and just mouse over everything that he has brought. It's a pretty standard army. He's got some of his Scottish foot knights right in the front line, some of the best infantry units that Scotland can bring, and we've got a whole scattering here of Highlanders, Highland Spears. We've got more Scottish foot knights pushing up the ram. We've got some Gallog-like, very heavy shock infantry units here for the Scottish. He's also got 2 artillery pieces which are loading up. He's brought some Ettrick archers, which is a good solid bow infantry unit. Might not be able to range those longbows though, so he will have to get them up and personal pretty close to the walls to be able to fire back. We've also got the Lord himself. This is the General. You can see him there, surrounded by his bodyguard. He's got some spears moving forwards as well. I believe he does have some more of these Scottish knights here, kind of in the back, and we've got some more forces hidden in the trees, some more of these Scottish sergeants, and they are moving up ever so slowly. But that is pretty much it for the Lord's army, so let's go ahead and take a look at the Scottish King's army next. The final attacking army on the battlefield today is the King's Army, commanded by Joe Onnit, and you can see the vast expanse of men on the battlefield here, with the Highlanders in front, and they already have started to torch some of the outer buildings of the city of York. But we've seen most of the units that the King has brought to the battlefield, but we'll go ahead and take a look at them again for good measure. He has managed to acquire 2 units of catapults. As you can see, he is moving them forwards. Many Highlanders joining his cause on his trip down from the Highlands to York. He also has his staple infantry, the sergeants, about 8 or 10 units of them. A lot of Ettrick archers here with some Scottish longbows mixed in. He has some Highland spear militia as well. He's got the deadly Scottish knights here at the back, along with his elite Scottish foot knights. And we have the King himself as well. Whereabouts is he? He is there. So the King of Scotland away at the back. You can see he has a very commanding view of the settlement and his army as well. And of course we do have the Gallog-like. I think they are somewhere over here in the trees. He's got 4 to 5 units of them. So pretty solid and well-rounded force. But that is it for the Army Comps, guys. So let's go ahead and get to this battle.
Give them steel! Give them fear!
Alright guys, welcome to the battlefield, and as you can see, the Scottish have just made it through one of the gates into the city, and the English flag is slowly being pulled down, and the Scottish are going to be able to capture this gate. But until that happens, they are being rained down upon by the burning oil inside the gatehouse itself. And you can see that there is some archer fire from just over the walls from the Ettrick archers of Scotland, but I am returning fire with my longbows. And my spearmen are going to have quite a bit of trouble holding this back. Again, they're just basic units. They don't have that good of a missile block. You can see I've already lost almost 60 men to those volleys, but I'm returning some fire with my longbowmen right into the flanks of the Scottish foot knights, and I will gladly trade a couple units of cheap spears for a unit of Scottish foot knights eliminated from the battlefield. You can see the scattered units over here just being filtered in very slowly. The Gallog-like have taken a lot of damage, though, from the burning oil pouring down upon them, but they did manage to capture the gate after suffering quite a few casualties here. The Gallog-like should be able to muscle their way through. You can see that these spearmen are already breaking over here, which is a problem for me. I need to make sure that my archers get pulled back and out of the way as quickly as possible. I am sending another unit of spearmen up to help as well. Over on the bridge, Joe is just bombarding this side of the bridge. The spearmen are very brave to be holding in this type of situation against the 2 catapults. You can see all of the buildings are starting to burn down on either side. Luckily, they are far enough away that if they do collapse, he shouldn't take too many casualties. And we do have some of these sergeant units moving forwards. They are in shield walls, so they're not going to take too many casualties from the archers that are firing up over the burning buildings. But actually, Their missile block and their armor isn't that great, so they may actually be melted before too long. We've got another unit of sergeants that are moving forwards as well, though. And it looks like they did manage to get a direct hit onto that spear unit. I mean, it says poor morale, but they're still holding in the face of all that artillery fire, so I think that is pretty solid indeed. Over here, though, we've got Bones just pushing in with his Scottish Foot Knights. He is trying to get as many units into here as possible to establish a foothold. The walls of York are quite low indeed, so the siege towers actually wouldn't even work on the walls. The siege towers are much taller than the walls of York themselves. So very, very defensible city, and the only real way to get in is to either break a choke point in the walls with the catapults, or to just go through the gates themselves. But it looks like Bones is intent on holding this gate and allowing most of his army to get through here unhindered. Really good positioning on his Ettrick archers as well. He's starting to focus my axe sergeants. I'm quickly trying to get them into melee because they don't have that good of a missile block. You can see a very intense fight here going on. Many units on the battlefield as well, so it will be a bit framey until more units do die. I actually didn't even show you guys the man count here. We've got about 11,600 to 8,900 for the garrison. And look at this, I've got my English knights moving over here. I managed to get one of them through here unseen. And I think that Bones will notice this before too long, but let's go ahead and put this on slow motion so we can really enjoy the charge. The Ettrick archers are also focusing down this choke point that I am holding here, trying to weaken this spear unit, so that is a very good call. But the Galloglyke are going to be my target here. Again, I don't care about these cheap spearmen. I really want to hit these Galloglyke. If I can get them off the battlefield, the English knights have paid for themselves. But actually, it looks like I might have a little twofer here, 2 for 1. Oh, throwing back all of the spearmen there, and then hitting really hard into the Galloglyke. That was a disgusting charge. Also following it up with my archers raining down onto the Galloglyke. Slaughtered half of the unit with that charge. The 66 kills on that one charge. Unfortunately, I will take some damage pulling them out, but it is worth it in this situation. If you can hit them quick enough and pull out, you won't take as many casualties because you can see most of them are just getting up now. Down to 71 men there. Wow, 88 kills as they pull out for another charge. Very disgusting. And you can see Bones very smartly is moving more of his spearmen over to this side, but he is continuing to focus this area here, which is excellent to see. The axe sergeants, their morale isn't looking too hot at the moment. And here we go. Looks like I might actually get another charge. I think I start to go over this way, but then I decide to change and go after these Scottish Knights. You can see that they are not in shield wall. Getting some archer fire on them as well. Not as good of a charge, didn't have as much room, but again, the Galloglyke really soaking up the damage there from the English Knights, hitting really hard into the flanks. This is causing a major issue for Bones. You can see his Galloglyke are going to be wavering soon. Their morale is looking pretty terrible. They've only gotten 4 kills, this one 6 kills, and this one 5 kills. So I am pulling back my English Knights once again. Again, every time I pull out, I am losing units, but the cycle charge is just so devastating that it's almost worth it if you can do it quick enough. But if you charge them in and leave them in combat for a few minutes, don't bother pulling them out because they'll probably rout. You can see even me pulling them out for the second time, the morale is not looking too hot for these English Knights. We've got more units of Scottish Foot Knights moving over here, and we have an absolute huge block of spearmen being pushed into the gatehouse. Let's see how Joe is doing over here. It's much slower over on Joe's side because he has the very tough task of breaking through here with his Scottish sergeants. This is a very tough choke point. It's a very easy one for the York defenders to hold. Also, Joe is at a bit of a disadvantage because, as you can see, Azrian is holding his spearmen down below the bridge, and his enemy here is just being focused down at ease by the archers, reason being because they're not actually obstructed if they're above the spear unit. So Azrian is able to focus the Scottish sergeants with relative ease here. albeit we do have the catapults, I think, that are trying to rain down upon the longbowmen themselves. You can see they've gotten some pretty good hits. Azrian is putting his units into loose formation, which is very smart to do. Got another charge there by the English Knights. We're up to 205 kills here, and you can see I'm charging forwards my Axe Sergeants because I think this is the time where I leave my Knights in melee, so I'm trying to support them with my Axe Sergeants. I've also got my Spearmen here to help out as well, but just to keep them in melee as long as possible. But you can see they are going down quite quickly now. They've lost a lot of their hit points from these cycle charges, so they have unfortunately broken. And you can see that many of the knights are just being torn down from their horses. And that will be the end of the English knights on this flank. And Bones has pretty much with that conquered the outer walls. I will not be able to push him back at this point. You can see he's actually forcing me back on the streets already, which was quite concerning because the garrison is already stretched. The garrison is already stretched quite thin. You can see I'm committing my sergeant units over here now. I really want to hold this area because we have the tower, and the tower gets a ton of kills. So I really want to hold this street and allow it to fire as long as possible. But over here, I don't really care as much about it. So that's why I'm not really committing too many more troops to holding the front of this street. I can always just hold at the half mark. You can see here, though, I have a very excellent wall holding this area of the walls. I didn't want to commit to the walls themselves because of the amount of artillery they had. If they were able to focus a section, they could tear it down from underneath my men and kill quite a few of them. So I'm just content to hold here from this little farmhouse. I stretched a line of billmen and sergeants to this tower. Again, defending the key towers inside the settlement is very important. We do have some knights that are coming over here, some Scottish knights. I think they were intent on flanking my units. I love the look of the Scottish Knights. You can see I am trying to focus them down, though, weaken their hit points early on with my archers, and then when they try to charge and then pull out of melee, they will lose many more men if their hit points are weakened. They have excellent armor, but their missile block shouldn't be that good. It's only 40, so I guess that is decent for a cavalry unit, but we should be able to do some damage. But yeah, you can see that Bones is moving his cavalry around the flank over here, and all of these units are hidden right now, so he has no idea that they're there. But as he kind of comes over here and turns the corner, he's like, oh, yeah, that's not going to work. He realizes that there is no way his knights are going to get through the billmen and the sergeants. Also, a nice good volley from the longbows has stopped him in his tracks, and he will pull his cavalry back in due time. But you can see, yeah, he's already taking quite a bit of damage there from the arrow tower as well, firing on this unit and the Highland Spear that is moving forwards to cleverly capture this gate, since I'm not really defending it very well. So he's going to use a depleted unit to do that, which I think is a very smart choice. Let's go ahead and go into some slow motion and enjoy some of this intense fighting for the streets here. You can see the bodies have already piled up behind this battle line. Look at the arrows just firing up and over the walls. They're raining down onto the men, I believe, that I have over here. Yeah, some of my... Oh, no, that's his, actually. Highland Spear Militia. But no, here we are, Spearmen. Yeah, so he's firing onto these Spearmen, making sure that they don't return to the battlefield. But I am holding quite well here with my Sergeant Axeman combo. They seem to do quite well together. The Sergeants will hold them in line, and then the Axemen will cut them down. So Bones is going to have to commit more forces over to this side, but you can see that most of the outer city is now on fire. And again, with the Sergeant unit here holding just outside of this capture zone, so that the arrow towers manage to get more kills onto the Scottish Foot Knights and the Gallaglyte that are fighting here. Azrian is committing some more of his garrison forces to holding the choke points, but Joe is just really, really slogging it out here. You can see many good Scottish men have died on this bridge, trying to break the Spearman unit and get across the bridge and into the city itself. And actually, it looks like he might just pull back. Oh, very smart by Joe. He's actually going to be using his Pila, trying to throw his Pila into the Spearmen. I think he... Yeah, there we go. Good work. Actually, some of them going for the archers as well, just behind. I do have one cavalry unit in reserve, as you can see, and the king has not moved with any of his troops. He is content to hold in this area and this area alone. You can actually see that we have some units that have broken and are running through here, no doubt giving news to the king of the battlefield and the utter ferocity of the Scottish as they push through and into the city of York, or the outer city. You can see here I am firing with some of my Highland Spear Militia. Or sorry, I'm firing at the Highland Spear Militia with my longbows. I know many of you would say that this is such a it's not really a big target that I should go for, but I disagree in that situation. I really need to route this unit so that they don't capture this gate. That will slow down Bones getting some units over here to flank me. And yeah, there we go. So they have broken, and I still hold on to this gate. So he will have to actually move his ram in to take the gate down himself. And all the while, it will allow me to focus more troops onto this side and not have to withdraw them. And you can see we also have some of the mounted sergeants here from Azarian. And my sergeants are looking quite depleted, so I think this is the time where his cavalry is going to move in. I'm not sure if he moves in just yet, but it should be soon. And I think we've held for long enough in this position anyways, because you can see that the tower is starting to smoke. And what that means is that the building next to it is catching the tower on fire. So pretty soon this isn't really going to be a valuable choke point to hold. There we go. Good charge with the mounted sergeants there. You can see the Gallop-like and the Spear Militia are starting to stand back up, but the mounted sergeants have pulled out in time. And he's also committing some spearmen here, but as I said, 42% fire damage, so this watchtower will be going down quite soon. And if not by fire damage, they will be capturing it. Focusing down those mounted sergeants as well. And my axe sergeants here have broken. My sergeants are holding very strongly on this side, but I am going to withdraw my archers into this secondary formation that I have formed. And I've also got a nice little 30-degree angle on my archers, because I know that some of the units will be coming around this way, so I want to make sure that they have a good line of fire. But me not capturing this gate, you can see that this is really stalled Bones out here. He's not going to be able to get any cavalry into the city from this gate. Also, a lot of his sergeants won't be able to get in until this gate is down. So again, it just buys us a little bit more time. And it looks like we do have a catapult crew that has moved in here, so I'm assuming Joe has used up all of his ammunition with that crew. Zoom in and see some of the fighting here. The English spears versus the Scottish Highlanders. And of course the catapult crew there as well. Come on, hold, men. Hold, brave spears. It's for your king. They will kill your king if they win. Thankfully, the king will be able to escape if he gets out of here in time. You can see that there are some back gates that can lead out of the city, or out of the... It's not really a citadel, but the fort. So he's positioned himself in a a relatively safe position, given the fact that the city of York is under siege. And slowly recapturing that gate, which is good, but now we've got the ram moving forwards from Bones. So it was good of him in hindsight to actually wield this ram all the way around instead of relying on that spearman, because that would have delayed him for a much longer period of time. I am focusing that unit of Scottish Foot Knights with my archers, though, trying to weaken them as much as possible. And again, these MVPs over here, these sergeants basically holding back like 5 or 6 units, and these Scottish Knights are just waiting for the opportunity to break through. So I was really impressed with my sergeants here and how well they held. But eventually this side will fall, and actually I'm seeing some of the Scottish cavalry are moving around to the other side. I have been pretty relentless in focusing down this Scottish Knight unit as well. You can see it's down to 53 men out of 80, and they've only got 1 kill, so that's definitely a good thing for me. I want to make sure that his cavalry is as weak as possible before they charge in. It'll just mean he'll take more casualties when they pull out of combat. But I think he's really intent on sneaking through here. I think he is going to try and charge in, but if he does do so, he will hit the backs of his own men. Yeah, so he's just forming up over here. I think he realizes most of my archers are on this side now, so it's relatively safe to keep them over there. And, oh yeah, actually, he is going to try and force them through. That is causing my sergeants to waver just a little bit. And the other reason why I really wanted to keep a hold of this gate is because now Bones is going to have to move forwards his Scottish foot knights through the gatehouse to capture the gate, but all the while it's going to rain down boiling oil on top of them. Again, we just need to cause as much casualties to the Scottish as possible, do as much damage with the garrison so that in the final stand, maybe, just maybe, the king will be able to come out of this alive. It's 9,600 Scottish to 7,000 English, so they still have a 2,000 man advantage on us. We've also got some more units moving over here. I think Bones might actually know about the burning oil. He's learned from the front gate there. But, oh, never mind. No, he is going to push his Highlanders through. I guess it's a good idea to do that, push through a cheaper unit instead of his Scottish foot knights. Surprisingly, it looks like no burning oil came down there, so that's kind of unfortunate. But again, more units being pushed over here, I think, to help capture the gate, so I'm raining down arrows on them. Also trying to focus these Scottish foot knights, and there we go, starting to cause some casualties on them as well. We've got the mounted sergeants here for the... this is the English, the sub-commander, but he unfortunately has broken. He did rally just in time, which is good. But I've got to be very careful here. This is... Oh, no, never mind. These archers have used up all their ammunition, so I think I have moved them out to try and bait the Highlanders into attacking me, so I could get some good flanking fire onto the Highlanders. But look at the volleys on the sides for these Highlanders. They are returning fire, though, onto my Billmen, which is concerning, killing 10 men in that volley alone. And they are still trying to capture this gate. So yeah, I think Bones knows about the burning oil, so well done to him keeping his elite units out of the gate until they do capture it. But that was a disgusting volley there. The Highlanders are starting to waver now, and wouldn't it be amazing if I was able to hold on to this gate again? But we do have the Scottish finally breaking free here. You can see many of the units are storming through the city. Oh man, we've also got some of these civilians being torched out of their houses here. That is a defenseless woman. Just running from her house as the Highlanders completely burn it to the ground. So obviously no mercy for any of the English civilians who are caught in the middle of this siege. You can see that probably, I'd say about 10% of the city has been burned to a crisp at this point. And I think Azrian is having a bit of trouble here. Yeah, you can see that his Joe's Hobblars here have made it across the bridge. The spearmen have broken, and they have established a beachhead here as well. But secondary lines of defense have been made from the the King's garrison, the sub-commander's garrison here. And I've made my second line here, the English wall, basically. And now we hold over here, again, holding in strategic positions where this watchtower can fire down upon the lightly armored Scottish units. But he is doing an excellent job over here, Bones, of just destroying my Billmen. They're down to 69 men already. And they've had zero kills. And yeah, at this point, I was like, this is not good. I need to get them further away. So I actually call a general retreat of all of my men. I'm going to leave these guys here because they're already locked in melee, and I'm going to leave this archer here to try and get as many kills as possible. But I'm going to reduce the section that I am trying to defend here. And at this point, you can see that the Scottish are storming on through. We've got the Scottish Knights breaking through as well. And unfortunately, these Billmen were left behind. They're also facing the wrong direction, which isn't ideal, and the Scottish are going to charge into them, and I just didn't have enough time to turn them around, which is unfortunate. Let's go ahead and turn this onto slow motion here. I'm quickly trying to retreat these archers down this very small street, trying to block the movement path of the Scottish Knights, but it's not going to work out. You can see they're going to get a pretty huge charge on my men here. Oh, that stings. Thankfully, this unit of archers had used up all of its ammunition already. So if anything, it was a good sacrifice unit while the rest of my very valuable units moved back to a more strategic position. But it was still a shame to lose English lives. And we're holding the sergeants here. Unfortunately, I think they will get charged in the back by the Scottish Knights very shortly. The Axe Sergeants have routed as well, and they will not be returning to the battlefield. But here is my next formation, or my next defense. You can see that it's still pretty defensible. I've been able to defend this with 4 billmen instead of 5 because my 5th billman unit has been completely routed. So again, this just reducing the amount of territory I'm trying to defend. It's as if that billman was never even meant to be there. I've also got another unit here of Axe Sergeants defending this small choke point so that they can't break through and flank around. And now it's pretty much up to Azrian to defend my flank. Because if they break through his choke points, they'll be able to flank through the kind of market square here and then get in behind my men. Let's go ahead and put... Oh, it already is on play. Excellent. But more of the settlement is being torched to the ground. And yeah, there we go. You can see the Hobblars charging into the backs of my sergeants, and they are just being cut down without mercy. Hard-pressed to even find some of my sergeants that are still alive. Yeah, you can see a few of the scattered sergeants. There's one right there in his red tunic. And then he just gets run down. Apologies for the lag, guys. I do such big battles on Attila, and you guys you're very well aware that the engine isn't the best, but once more units die, it should kind of pick up a little bit. I mean, at this stage, we still have like 12,000 men on the field, so quite a big battle indeed. But we've got these Scottish Foot Knights sitting over here. Again, I'm more than happy to fire down upon them with my archers. He's got some sergeant units here, which I'm not as keen to fire upon, because I think they actually have a decent missile block. Well, it's only 30. But the Scottish Foot Knights are a much more valuable unit to go after. We also have some of the Ettrick archers here, which caused all of those deaths onto my billman. But he's actually left his Scottish Foot Knights here, and his Scottish Foot Knights are facing away from me. And I was hoping he would leave all his units here as well, because once this tower collapses, it would cause a massive amount of death to the units around it. So I was watching very keenly for that, but looks like Joe has brought a lot of his units across the bridge too, and there are still a lot of units in reserve. You can see we've got a lot of sergeants. All of his foot knights haven't even been committed yet. Of course, the king is here with his Scottish knights. I think the only cavalry unit for Joe inside the city at this point is his Hobblars. And we do have the Axe Sergeants, which are broken, and I believe the sub-commander has been killed so far in this battle, so this garrison here from the neighboring town, they have lost their leader. But I am holding strong here with my bowmen, and we've got a little bit of a skirmish phase going on. Probably a good idea for Bones to continue skirmishing down these billmen, because it's going to be a real challenge for him to take them on with just his swords, and I don't believe that he brought any pikemen whatsoever. In fact, I don't believe any of them brought any pikemen, so that's definitely good for us. Oh, hold on, I see, yeah, we've actually got a few units of pike children, but Azrian's actually focusing them down right now. And they have very poor armor and very poor missile block. So eliminating them will be key to holding these choke points with my billmen, because the pikes kind of trump the billmen. But I'm just waiting on this side for Bones to commit. He knows that I don't really have the manpower to push forwards at this point, so I kind of just have to hold here. You can see I'm putting my archers or my longbowmen that have used up their ammunition in front of my billmen, and yeah, you could just see a lot of them kind of taking the shots there for the billmen. They're almost like standing in front like a human wall trying to defend the billmen and keep them alive. Waiting for another volley here. Yeah, you can see there's like just a single line in front of all the billmen. But I'm hearing some movement now, so it looks like actually we've got the Scottish moving in to engage. Got the Highlanders and the Scottish Foot Knights pushing forwards and finally connecting with the Billman Sergeant line of the English. So now the Billmen must do their job and hold. I need as much time as possible here. Got more of these Scottish moving in as well. Let's zoom in so we can see them connecting with the Billman line. Very nicely done there. And we've actually got even more troops being committed here, so it looks like about 6 to 8 units of infantry will be committed to this flank. And my archers are still holding in the center, again, giving those Billmen a bit of help, and I will push my sergeants in very soon as well to help hold the line so that the Billmen aren't being forced from their formation. Yeah, there we go. You can see that I just pushed them in. Over here, you can see Azrian is really struggling to hold on this side, but I have my secret weapon. My English Knights are over here. We've also got 2 units of English Knights from the King's Army, which are moving forwards as well. And I see that his Bones' 1 unit of Scottish Knights has moved actually outside of the city. He has a unit of Hobilars, I believe this is Joe's, and there is a unit of depleted Scottish Knights here as well. But they're pretty weakened at this point, and the only reinforcements that he has are his archers, and pretty much nothing else. So what I'm quickly trying to do here, at the risk of being charged like this, is I'm trying to move my Billmen out onto the flank, and I'm trying to get my sergeants over here as well to just protect the knights as they move forwards into open ground. And you can see that I don't think the knights have noticed until just now. They're just starting to move forwards, and take a look at the damage caused by that tower collapsing. All of these units on the ground were killed by the collapsing tower, so you really have to be careful with that. And here we go. Let's actually get a slow motion of this here. I see the Scottish Knights there, but I do not care. I'm quickly moving my English Knights into range, spreading them out as wide as I can, and then going in for the charge onto the Scottish ranks. And look at this. The perfect diagonal formation here means that I managed to hit about 4 to 5 units with that charge. So now the attackers become the defenders. And as I said, yeah, here come the Scottish Knights, and they do get a pretty good charge into my men, but they're so weakened at this point that their charge wasn't really too effective. I think we also have the Hobilars moving in as well, but they're pretty garbage. I wasn't that concerned, and now that we broke this flank, you can see I'm free to move my infantry into a bit of an L formation and just surround and crush these guys. We've also brought the cavalry in as well, so closing the jaws on them will mean that they will have lost their cavalry advantage on this side. And look at the kills on this unit, up to 144 already. The Hobilars are breaking, and look at this chain route, guys. Look at this chain route. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 units. Soon to be 11 units routed from the battlefield, and I'm quickly following with my sergeants to ensure that these guys do not return. And I'm also following up with my sergeants to attack these Ettrick archers, because I think this threw Bones off guard a little bit, and he was still moving his Ettrick archers forwards, possibly going after some of my units in reserve. So I was able to turn around my English Knights and get a good charge into the Ettrick archers, and all the while volleying these units that have returned from routing as well. Also, we do have a unit here of English Knights. It looks like they were going to charge into the Highlanders, but they decided against it and literally just pulled up a few feet from their face and then turned around. Let's go ahead and put this back onto play. So they are moving back into the city itself, and Bones is moving forwards his catapult into the settlement. You can see it has probably 75% of his ammunition still left, and it is just pandemonium over here. You can see that Joe is starting to send some reinforcements over to this flank. We've also got a catapult here moving forwards. I believe that is Bones' other catapult. But yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 units at least all caught in this this attack made possible by the English Knights. They are up to 510 kills already, and I see this juicy catapult pulling forwards, and I just cannot resist the urge to go after it. I'm trying to break these archers as quickly as possible. Bones is trying to lock my English Knights down, which is a really good idea, but I just countercharge with them. Get a good countercharge there. The Ettrick archers, I believe, are trying to pull out of melee. As you can see, they have about 75% of their ammunition left as well. But my sergeants over here are just wrapping things up on these sides, and now we're going to go after that catapult crew. So there is no battle line over here, guys. It's just fighting on all sides. You would not know who is behind you, friend nor foe. It's kind of just 1,000 little duels, 1v1s everywhere in this field. I really like this settlement because it allows for these kind of hectic field battles within the actual settlement itself. It was very, very cool. But as you can see, that catapult crew has been kind of locked into melee. The Scottish still hold the gate as well, which is good, but I'm trying to destroy all of the units that are funneling in to reinforce this position. Look at this, we got the Ettrick archers over here, which are struggling. The catapult crew has broken. We've only got some Highlanders here, but I'm quickly moving in some billmen to defend as well. Boom, there we go. The cavalry has broken. We've got the Ettrick archers with almost full ammunition breaking as well. And I'm keeping my English Knights in melee at this point. The billmen are certainly helping out. There we go. More Highlanders have broken. We've got some units over here, Highland Spears, that have broken. I'm pushing my sergeants through this very narrow street to hold back the 2 units of reinforcements from Joe. And we've got more units coming over here as well from Joe to try and lock down this flank. He's also pushing pretty heavily over here. I've got some billmen defending with my sergeants against the Highlanders and Scottish sergeants, and I've focused those pikemen down, who are unfortunately facing the wrong direction, and with only 7 kills, they will be completely wiped out from the battlefield. Also, my general is engaged in melee against 2 units of sergeants, but I'm hoping he will be able to hold. I've also got a unit of axe sergeants holding this area, and yeah, we're holding quite well, as you can see. Do have that unit of Scottish Knights have returned from routing, which is unfortunate. I hope that I could just see them off the battlefield for good. But there we go. I got a good charge into these Highlanders. Now I'm turning around to hit the Ettrick archers, who also returned from routing. Just make sure that they shatter from the battlefield. That way they can't be used later. There we go. The Ettrick archers being cut down. Very deadly Scottish Knights, and then another charge into the backs of these Highlanders over here. And I believe that the Scottish are still capturing this. Yeah, it looks like we did manage to capture it initially, but they are recapturing it. And unfortunately, my sergeants are starting to break due to the fact that we have some enemy archers firing into their backs. And my English Knights are starting to waver, but there we go. The Highlanders have broken. The Scottish Knights have shattered, so they will not be returning to the battlefield. And the catapult crew, I believe, will break as well for the 2nd time. And at this point, I call a retreat. I think that we have done enough damage over here. Just take a look at these fields, guys. You can see where the initial battle line was, and look at the amount of dead Scottish in this one area. A lot of yellow uniforms on the ground. Huge amount of damage caused there by that one cavalry unit. And there we go, we're recapturing the gates as well, which is good. So that way, if any Scottish units do try to come back here in the future, the burning oil should activate, I would think, because the gatehouse damage is only at 50%. But yeah, I want to get these English Knights to get some of these archers over here. I know they've mostly used up their ammunition, but just to see them off the battlefield for good. They're at 722 kills, so I just quickly try and get another charge into these archers. I'm sure the Scottish are absolutely terrified by these English Knights by now. I'm sure they've already made a few ballads and songs about them. And there we go, trying to get a charge into these knights as well. Or sorry, into these archers. But the Scottish knights do finally shatter with 743 kills to their name. 49, 50, 52. Well done, English warriors. And over here as well, I've just got a depleted unit of sergeants, trying to go after these Ettrick archers here that are focusing my sergeants in the backs. Again, I'm holding back like 5 units over here, so they really helped to ensure I was able to pull back my units. But yes, now we have Joe over here, which is kind of pulling a little sneaky on me. I didn't actually notice that he had his cavalry go all the way around the entire city and then get into the backs of my billmen and my spearmen. So well done there. You can see he's trying to pull through my billmen. I did manage to hit J and quickly switch them around, but they haven't gotten their bills down just yet, or their bill hooks. I'm quickly following with my axe sergeants in here to try and lock this Scottish cavalry in melee, but they are slippery. They just managed to get in and get out. Thankfully, a lot of them are kind of caught by the Colosseum with their backs to the Colosseum, and the axe sergeants charge in and start to cut them down. Yeah, you can see huge hits into the horses there. They throw their riders from their backs as they fall to the ground, but many of the Scottish knights have fallen. The billmen are moving forwards as well to try and reinforce here, but that charge on the sergeants was pretty devastating. They're up to 158 kills already, and I don't have this unit moved forwards. I was counting on these billmen to actually get there in time, but unfortunately they are tired, so they were much slower than I anticipated. I think I do try to turn them around, but I'm a little bit too late to that, or I push them away from the billmen. And there we go. Yep, huge charge there into both of the units. I'm trying to quickly get my axe sergeants here, though, to hem them in. But they're just going to turn around and charge into my axe sergeants. Blocking a lot of them, though, from escaping, which is good. Yeah, some huge volleys there as the billmen close in, and yeah. So still quite effective, 200 kills, but could have been a lot worse. You can see that they're turning around to hit the sergeants once again. There we go, 217, 218. Pretty disgusting kills. And look at the king over here. Finally volleyed that cavalry to save the garrison, but I guess the common rabble really isn't that important. He'd rather save his ammunition for when they're attacking him. Really nice English king. Thanks a lot. Oh yeah, a few volleys into my own men for good measure as well. Cool, cool. I was like, stop firing at my men, please. The Welsh longbowmen do not care. Do not care. Look at those volleys still hitting into my own axe sergeants. My goodness. But there we go. Finally stopped volleying, and this pretty much is the end of the first phase. We're going to have a second phase for the town center itself, or the outpost. But I'm just going to zoom in and show you my poor garrison units holding back just exorbitant amounts, or exorbitant numbers of Scottish, and holding very valiantly for the last few minutes here. And look at that. Did that actually break some Scottish units there? Yeah, look at that. Some of them actually breaking. Here we go. Some more some more sergeants from the Scottish. So reinforcements completely surrounding them. And at this point, my garrison units were like, Sir, get out of here. Back to the keep. Quick, run. So the garrison has sacrificed their lives, holding back the tides of Scottish warriors, giving my general time to actually get out of here alive. You can see here, if we zoom in, he is bloodied, he is broken, and if we turn around, he is leaving the burned city of York behind. I'm sure he is very sad to see that the city is on fire. Who knows how long he's been at this post, but the garrison commander, his one and only job is to protect the civilians of the city, and he has failed. But no time for lamenting now, basically, because we've got some more of the Scottish moving forwards, and we also have some of the archers focusing him down. So it is not over yet. He quickly needs to get out of range of those archers, lest him and his unit be completely annihilated. But there we go. Looks like the billmen and the longbowmen have been wiped out. I mean, these longbowmen are holding very strong here, and we've got some of the Ettrick archers actually here. And I think I do try and push my longbows into these Ettrick archers to stop them from firing. Maybe. Not sure. I was doing a lot of microing over here, but unfortunately the billmen have broken, and now these archers are surrounded. But yeah, there we go. Gonna push them forwards and maybe kill a few Ettrick archers in that charge, but the rest of the units have been wiped out. And look at the state of this city so far. Many of the neighborhoods are ablaze. You can see that most of the outer city has been completely wiped out. Look at the devastation here, guys. There is one house standing here, and this barn in this entire neighborhood. Looking over here, nothing stands. Looking over here, some of it, but half of the neighborhood is gone. Just utter destruction of the city of York. All these outer buildings in the marketplace completely destroyed. Very, very sad to see. And you can see all of the Scottish foot knights here are extremely healthy and ready for battle. Joe's got to be pretty careful here, though. If this building collapses, he will lose some of his units. But I'm sure he will move them out of harm's way very shortly. And as you can see here, thankfully, my general does make it back into the keep. And he will report to the king that the city is lost, and the king will decide at this point what to do next. But that is it for the first phase, guys, so let's go ahead and make a little cut here, and we will bring it back once the second phase, or the attack for the keep, has begun. Alright, guys, welcome back to the battlefield, and as you can see, the Scottish have finally broken through the gates and are charging up these slopes into the outpost itself. You can see that one of the units of Scottish Knights did make it into the outpost, and we do have more units that are going to be following through very shortly, but we do have the burning oil just pouring down upon the Scots as they do move forwards, and this is causing quite a bit of damage to the enemy, which is good for the English. Over here, the same thing is kind of happening, except I've charged out with my units to try and slow down them actually breaking through with this ram, and I knocked the unit of sergeants off the ram itself, but it looks like my unit maybe broke. Yes, they did. So they're back inside the settlement, and the ram is again being pushed into position. And Bones has moved forwards most of what remains of his soldiers. He's very wary, though, of the English knights because he has spotted them. You can see he's left a few units of sergeants to defend those choke points, and he has the Lord's bodyguard all the way at the back. We've also got the King's bodyguard over here, kind of protecting himself, shielding from the artillery of Azrian's catapult, and also commanding a good view of the battlefield. You can see here that most of the units are in shield wall, which is good because Azrian is focusing them down with his catapult. And we do have some cavalry over here, some Scottish cavalry, which is moving over to hide in the trees. And the Ettrick archers are trying to go toe-to-toe with the Welsh longbowmen on the walls, but the Welsh longbowmen have done quite a bit of damage so far to the Scottish. But we do have a pretty tough fight over here, as you can see, and what I'm doing over here is trying to employ an interesting tactic. I never really thought about doing this before, but it only really works if there's no other choke points or breaches in the wall. But what I'm doing is I'm forming up my billmen on the actual slope, and what this will do is actually keep the units in the burning oil for longer, because they won't actually be able to funnel the whole unit up to the top. They're going to have to challenge my billmen right where they stand, and that means that the burning oil is going to have a devastating effect on the Scottish. So it really just depends on how long my bowmen can actually hold here. Oof, some big hits there from the artillery. But just look at this. See, this unit is stuck in combat, and half of the unit is in the burning oil. So this is actually a very valuable tactic to employ, and it's one that I actually just tried for the first time in this siege battle. And as I said, it only really works if there are no other breaches in the walls, because if there are breaches or other points in the walls, why would the Scottish even bother coming through the gate knowing about the burning oil? But this is just an absolute kill zone over on this side, and you can see that Bones knows this. I think he is withdrawing some of his units. Either that or they have broken. Oh, and some big volleys there onto the Scottish from the archers as well. A very desperate fight there. More units being rained down upon by the burning oil, and let's take a look at the damage that that has caused. Yeah, they've just completely broken. 3 units gone, just like that, and most of it thanks to the burning oil. Now, I've got to be careful here. I think my sergeants charge out after them, so I need to make sure that they hold strong. I probably should have put them on guard mode if I was thinking better about it. But, yeah, they did push through to challenge the units that were retreating, but there we go. I did quickly pull them back inside the outpost, but not before some of them actually were cut down by the Ettrick archers firing into that gap. But at this point, Bones is kind of stopped in his tracks, which is good. He's going to have to utilize his archers to make any headway there. And you can see here that it's just an all-out slog. It's a grind for the Scottish on this side, but unfortunately we didn't employ the same tactic in time, so we're not able to hold them inside the burning oil. You can see that most of the unit is clear of the gate itself. So in hindsight, I might have tried to do that again, but I think I only got 1 unit of billmen back to the town center. Look at this guy over here, too, like, just cheering them on, but well away from the actual fighting. But this is still a pretty desperate defense for the English. The Scottish still have the numbers. Oh my goodness, what is going on here? Oh man, English was beheaded there. Poor Englishman. It looked, though, that he was actually fighting without a weapon, so that is desperate indeed. The Scotsman may have knocked it out of his hand. More units being funneled through, but the Gallaglyte suffering a similar fate to Bones on the other side. Huge amounts of damage there, and look at that, the Gallaglyte down to 80 men. I really wish that we had the ability to see how much damage the towers and the gates had done in this battle, because I'm sure that the kills are in the thousands. But same thing here, I'm telling you, this is a very valuable tactic to do. I can't believe I never even thought of it before. But here we go, look, unit of Gallaglyte, look at the numbers dropping, guys, from 160 to 122, just like that. And they are stuck in this position, so now when the burning oil is activated again, those numbers will decrease even further. We've got some more units being committed as well. Where are those Gallaglyte? I want to see their numbers. Okay, down to 116, 115. So they're not doing too bad. They're really trying to force their way through this choke point. And we've got the Ettrick archers firing as well, but this isn't really a good position for them. You can see that most of their shots are actually landing into the sides of the walls, and none are really finding their mark on my billmen and sergeants. Look at the billmen here, 134 kills, and my sergeants, 23 kills, but they're, yeah, look at all the arrows just knocking against the walls, but not finding their mark. So that is a bit of a waste of ammunition, unfortunately, but we do have the very valuable catapult crew pushing forwards. So they're going to try and make some headway over here. But it looks like Joe is actually finally starting to push through here, which is excellent to see. And we do have a bit of a sally out here from Azrian's English Foot Knights. We are going to try and flank around and hit these archers that are kind of undefended. We knew about this cavalry already. I had seen it when it was moving into the trees, and I do see it now. But as I said, my garrison troops are pretty much wiped out. I only had 4 units that did return, and 4 units are breaking. So it's pretty much just down to my general at this point, the English bodyguard. And since they did shatter my defense, they're now able to push up a little bit further on the slopes and challenge the English at the top, where the entrance to the outpost is. Same over here. Joe is really getting the better end of the deal, because I didn't think about this tactic until he had already broken through. But yeah, there we go. So the unit was hidden in the trees. I was aware of where it went. I did move my general over there to try and go after that cavalry unit and allow the Foot Knights to flank the Ettrick archers. But yeah, the Ettrick archers are really what's causing most of the damage here. 28 minutes left in this battle. Don't worry, I'm not going to show you 28 minutes of gate fighting. I will cut it out very shortly and move forwards, because I understand this is a very long replay. But there are more interesting things happening, so I don't want to miss this sally out here from the English defenders. So let's actually move into their point of view here. They do see the Ettrick archers there undefended, and the cavalry, as I said, is technically hidden in the trees, but I had told Azrian where it was, so we were both aware of that cavalry. And here comes my very bloodied English bodyguard. They are the ones who are going to try and screen the English, well, they're not sergeants, the English foot knights here. We're going to try and screen them and give them enough time to do damage to the Ettrick archers. So my general, as you can see, is headed directly for that cavalry. Suicide mission? Quite possibly, but if we can eliminate these archers or stop them from firing at our defense for even a few minutes, it will be very valuable. Look at the amount of damage that they're doing to these sergeants here, trying to hold this flank. The Scottish are definitely breaking through these choke points, so we need to do something to delay them. And you can see Bones does realize this, so his Lord's Bodyguard, I believe, is coming over to this side. But there we go. Oh, sorry, guys, I missed that charge, but obviously you were going to know what happened there. I did manage to brace... Oh, no, I didn't actually brace them in time, which is too bad. But here we go. Now they got a huge charge into the English Foot Knights themselves, which are formed up. And we do have the Scottish Foot Knights very close at hand to reinforce the cavalry position. But yeah, that was a pretty disgusting charge there. Once again, they do try to come over here to get another charge on my general, but some of the unit was still engaged in melee, so they weren't able to charge. And that's where my English Knights, or sorry, my English Lord's Bodyguard are going to cut these Scottish Knights down. You can see they're trying to pull out from the engagement as quickly as possible, but the huge halberd infantry are just ripping the knights off their horses. So yeah, a lot of damage done to those English knights. Let's take a look actually at their stats. I'm sure from the charge they got a decent amount of kills. Yeah, 140. And well. Look who we have here. Coming out of the outpost himself, the King of England, coming over here to challenge the Scottish Knights. And looks like the English Knights have stabilized here. The English Foot Knights challenging the Scottish Foot Knights now in melee, but the Ettrick archers are secure, so we didn't really accomplish our goal there, unfortunately. But the balance of power is pretty close. If we take a look at the man count here, 2,300 English remain inside the fort, and 3,000 attacking Scottish remain on the battlefield. And the English longbow is getting some excellent rear volleys into these Scottish Foot Knights here. And I believe there was another disgusting charge into my general here. Again, if he dies, it's not a huge deal. He's actually gotten quite a few kills already, which is good. But it looks like the English king is going to charge through my general and maybe go after the weakened Scottish Knights, charging right through this archway here. They certainly are using some kind of witchcraft to ensure victory here. But we do have, I believe this is Joe's king? No, this is actually Bones' king, because it's the Lord's Bodyguard. I'm going to try and form up to take the brunt of this charge so the English king doesn't get rear charge, but then there we go, the English king actually turning around and charging into the Lord's Bodyguard himself. And there's the English king right there. He killed one of the Scotsmen himself. Really pursuing them as well, not allowing them to escape. But here comes the King of Scotland charging across the plains. He sees a valuable opportunity to go after the King of England. So now we have all four generals basically here battling it out on the fields outside the outpost. Let's go ahead and see if we can lock eyes on the kings and where they are. Where is the King of England? Let's actually put this onto slow motion here, because I kind of want to see where he is. Okay, so there's the King of England there. He is surrounded by his men. He's actually challenging some of these Scottish. And where is the Scottish king? Where is the King of Scotland? I know he's here somewhere. Oh, there he is. He's in the trees. He's in the trees there. Some of his Scottish knights actually charging the English knights, making sure to form a hedge of protection around him. And oh no, yeah, that was my general there. Tried to pull out and unfortunately was slaughtered. So the garrison commander of the town of York was eliminated, and these Scottish knights, I believe, are going to break. We do have some of these spearmen, which are coming in to reinforce the king as well. And where is the English king? He was over here. Looking for the crown, looking for the crown. Looks like the Scottish king is going to withdraw as well. And looks like Bones' Lord's bodyguard is going to try and follow him. See if he can get rid of him, but there we go. The English king is very much alive, and he is pulling back. And I believe the Scottish king is alive as well. He is pulling back too. So, kind of inconclusive, except for my general has been killed. However, not really going to affect too much the defense of this outpost because, as I said, all of my units had been wiped out previously anyways. And now we've got some buildings that are starting to burn outside the outpost, so hopefully they won't actually catch the walls on fire. That wouldn't be good at all for us. But excellent positioning here by the Ettrick archers, firing into the sides of these sergeants, but it is still a very big grind, guys. We do have some of these Highland spearmen, though, in a very excellent position. They are going to flank the English foot knights and hopefully rout them from the battlefield. All the while, the Scottish king is watching as well. And it looks like the Scottish spearmen are actually going into a spear wall before they do move in. We've got some Ettrick archers charging it as well. And here we go. Here is the charge. The Highland war cry as they slam into the backs of the English foot knights and surround them. And I'm wondering if that is the Lord's bodyguard there, kind of flanking around, hiding in the forest. But I believe that does finally break the English foot knights from the battlefield. So not a super successful flank, but it was definitely an epic fight here between the four generals. So that's why I didn't want to cut that part out. But it's still a very much a slog for the basically command of the gatehouses. So let's make a little cut, and when something interesting happens, I will bring it right back to you. Alright guys, welcome back to the battlefield, and this is a grisly sight for you guys to behold. The English king has been slain while charging back out of the back gate in the outpost and challenging these foot knights. If we zoom out, we may be able to see the carnage ourselves. There is the king. You can see the crown upon his head, and he has fallen from his horse, skewered by a spear. I tried to actually capture the actual battle for you, but he glitched up onto his he glitched up onto his horse after he had died, and then fell back down, then glitched up onto his horse again, then fell back down. So it wasn't a very cinematic death at all, but the king has indeed fallen. And now these victorious Scottish foot knights are going to move forwards and choke point this back gate, so no other cavalry does push forwards. But you can see that slowly the Scottish are starting to make their way into the city itself. And we do have the king's bodyguard here. The bodyguard is very much alive and looking for some retribution for the death of the English king. So they will probably flank around and get some solid charges onto the Ettrick archers that have made their way into the settlement themselves. Or no, maybe they're turning around? I'm not sure what they're doing, but we did have some more Scottish units up here on the walls. They managed to flank around from the billmen and get up onto the walls, but thankfully some very brave mercenary Welsh longbowmen routed them from the battlefield. So the king's bodyguard is kind of moving around looking for a good position to charge, and we do have the Scottish king still very much alive here. You can see he is present on his horse, and we have the Lord's bodyguard over here as well. You can see he's desperately trying to rally what men he does have, and he is very close to the walls, but thankfully for him, most of the Welsh longbowmen have depleted their ammunition. So you can see he is right here. He is also alive as well. Let's go ahead and get some cinematic shots of this gate fighting once again. And you can see that they've really pushed over the last 5 or 6 minutes up the slopes and into the actual settlement itself, or the actual outpost, and this is allowing them to flank some units around. You can see they have some sergeants over here challenging the English sergeants on the field inside the outpost. But we've got some cheering here, so I'm not sure who is cheering. It's because the Ettrick archers have actually broken, and the sergeants are wavering here as well, so that's excellent if you are rooting for the English defenders. And we've got the rest of the Lord's bodyguard breaking out here. He got a good charge into the Scottish foot knights. Now he's going to maybe flank around and hopefully charge the spears, but unfortunately it's too much for them, and they break from the battlefield. And I believe the Scottish king just looked on, and I'm sure he's got the biggest smile on his face, knowing that his men have killed the English king, and it looks like the conquest of York is imminent. But it's not over yet. You can see if we look at the man count here with 16 minutes remaining, we have 1,100 English defending and 1,200 Scottish attacking. And given that we're in superior defensible positions, it could go either way in this battle. Mind you, both of our generals are dead. My army is completely destroyed at this point, so it's pretty much all down to Azrian and the King's army. He does have some English foot knights here holding strategic secondary formations. Looks like the billmen are kind of pulling out, but now they're pushing back in. Not sure what's going on there. But the mercenary Welsh longbowmen are waiting for their chance to push in as well. So they've got a decent amount of kills, 269 kills. This one got 241. Over here we've got another Welsh longbowman unit with 391 kills. And I believe this is the remainder of Bones' army. Where is his lord, though? Oh, he's over here. He's over here just chilling. So he is alive. He is alive. And I think what Joe was trying to do over here was to burn down the gate, but I think that's a Rome 2 thing where they throw torches at the gate. In Attila, you actually have to send the unit in to batter the gate down, and all the while you'll be getting the boiling oil poured down upon your heads. So not worth it to throw these 3 units away, especially with the man count being so close. It's very, very close. And again, the general is wavering here. He needs to hold and inspire the nearby men. He cannot abandon his king in his hour of need. There we go. He's looking a little unsure of himself. Not much blood on his unit, though, which is interesting. And I think they're finally capturing the gates here. Here we go. We've got some units pushing around. We've got the Galloglyph challenging some Welsh longbowmen. That's not going to go well for those poor English longbows. You can see that they are desperately trying to hold the Scottish in the outpost, but it is only a matter of time before they just get slaughtered. Ooh, I do not envy the position of these English longbowmen right now, or these mercenary Welsh longbowmen. But here we go. Looks like we have a unit of foot knights coming in to save the day and hold this choke point along with the mercenary Welsh longbowmen. And the English foot knights are more than a match for the Galloglyph. So this is a pretty good fight indeed. And actually, it looks like the Welsh longbowmen break from the battlefield at that point. So they're taking that charge from the English foot knights. They're taking advantage of that and just getting out of here. The billmen still trying to hold on this flank, but again, we have a lot of elite Scottish foot knights here. Some of the units are actually finding their way onto the upper areas of the outpost itself. And the English are running out of men to plug these gaps. Hold, brave Englishmen, hold. Your king has been slain at the hands of these Scottish. Do not give these Scottish the satisfaction of conquering the city. And where is the Scottish king? Where is he? Oh, wow, they're actually coming through over here. Yes, okay. So you've got both of them moving forwards. We've got Bones has his Lord's bodyguard over on this flank, and we have the Scottish king in a long column formation flanking around the unit. He is going to get a disgusting charge into the side of these English foot knights if reinforcements do not plug that gap. And you can see Joe calm, cool, and collected here, slowly waiting for most of his unit to get around before charging in. Where are they going for? Oh, that actually wasn't that good of a charge. But if he refocuses his charge over here against this choke point, he might be able to get a really solid one onto the defenders. Yes, that was a better charge. It wasn't too good, but it was better. And where is the king himself? I'm trying to find him. There he is. He's at the back. Oh, sorry, guys. I just missed him there. But we do have Bones' Lord's Bodyguard charging in here into the backs of the English Foot Knights. There he is. I'll try and zoom into him. There he goes. He just fell off his horse. He's trying to get back up here. Looks like he's not going to be able... Oh, no, there he is. There he is. Sorry, he's back on his horse. You can see his sash. And there he goes. He was knocked from his horse. Does that mean his general is dead? It is quite possible. Looks like the unit has been wiped out. I did get a notification. Oh, no, he's back here. Oh, what? So maybe he was able to pull out? Yeah, there he is. He's bloodied, so he's actually back on his horse. Wow, that is one lucky son of a gun there. My goodness, where is the Scottish general, or Scottish king? He is over here. So let's actually focus him a little bit. This is so intense. The Scottish cannot afford to lose their king. They need to pull out. You can see the English knights closing in on him. His bodyguard is being torn down around him, and he is kind of locked in combat here with not many people to defend him. Get out of there, get out of there, get out of there. There he goes. So he is managing to pull out, and it looks like the Lord's Bodyguard just escaping with his life as well. Wow, so the Lord's Bodyguard is going back in. That's him there, I believe. No, where is he? Should have his sash. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know if he's been killed at this point, but I don't see the original general. But the king is still alive. You can see him there. Where is he going now? Okay, so one of the generals, there we go. So the Lord's general has been slain. So that is Bones' general gone, but the king is very much alive. He's got 61 kills. You can see him here at the front of his formation. So he is the only general that survives on this battlefield. He's the only one left. And as soon as he charges, I want to get a slow motion charge here because this is getting very intense. We've got, for man count, 439 English defenders to 725 Scottish attackers. This is an extremely close one. Here we go. This is where he's going in. Let's get a cinematic charge here. You can see huge hits there. Where is the king? He was actually, thankfully, he hit one of the English units, and he is well behind his bodyguard. So, oh, but now he's charging kind of into the center of things. Oh, I'm very worried here. English knights surrounding him again. He is at the back of the column, but as he tries to pull his unit through, he is left behind, guys. His bodyguard, thinking that he is right there with him, has left the king surrounded by Englishmen, and there he goes. He's actually killed. He was slain on the battlefield by the English that were rising from their feet after that devastating charge, and the bodyguard has no idea. They have just pulled out of combat expecting to see their king with them, and he is not. And once they realize that, they just shatter from the battlefield. 9 minutes remaining here on this battlefield. It is neck and neck, 412 to 424 men. The English and Scottish have both paid in basically thousands of lives for the city of York, but which one will hold? Which one will hold? I'm excited to see who will fly their flag over this outpost today. And now that the king has been defeated, unfortunately a lot of Joe's units are starting to waver. He does have some disciplined Scottish foot knights moving in though, and he does have more Scottish foot knights and Highland spears coming around to this gate as well. But unfortunately for Bones, the last infantry units that he did have shattered from the battlefield, leaving these two units to be free to defend this area of the streets so that they cannot flank around. So let's take stock. Look at that, the balance of power back into the English's favor by quite a margin. We've got English foot knights, 2 units here. We've got a Scottish foot knight unit here, and we've got a billman and sergeant formation over here. But don't forget, we do have 2 more units of Scots coming over to get into the outpost and hopefully turn this around. Now the Scottish knights, 94 men in their retinue. We've got the English foot knights are 66. So in a 1v1 match, I think that the Scottish foot knights will win, but I think Azrian is resting his other unit here, trying to get them into a more fresh, not really a fresh position, but kind of freshen up his warriors so that they can fight more effectively in melee. Meanwhile, the Scottish will not have been able to rest at all. You can see that they're only winded, so it's not too bad. These units are tired and wavering. But here we go. Looks like reinforcements are just arriving. We've got the Highland Spears. Oh, no! Oh, that's so frustrating. The Scottish Knight unit that was coming around here with 58 men remaining, they unfortunately broke from the battlefield, so this is not looking good. 396 English now to 194 Scottish. Will the English be able to scrape a victory out of all of this bloodshed? Let's watch some cinematics here as well. We've just got about 5 minutes remaining. For those of you guys that are still here at this point in the battle, thank you so much for watching the entire battle. I know it was a long one, but it needed to be a long and conclusive battle to end this series, and this is absolutely an epic ending. The English spears are holding over here. I think that the Scottish spears are holding. I think the English are not really too interested in moving forwards just yet. Looks like the English are doing quite well for themselves. If we turn back on the HUD here... Oh, actually, the English Knights are being wrecked by the Scottish Foot Knights. They both have the same amount of chevrons. 39, 35, 20. They're the exact same stats. Oh, whose morale was 2, though? Okay, so it's 34 morale, 32 morale. We've got 84 men versus 83 men. Everything about the ending of this battle is just so close. And the Billmen are forming up over here. It looks like we've got a 1v1 matchup between some sergeants and some Highland Spears. Looks like the sergeants are going into a shield wall to defend here. Azery doesn't have any need to go onto the attack. It's all about the Scottish. They need to be the ones to attack. And it looks like the Billmen are moving over here to capture this gate. But once he does that, I'm sure he'll move around here to help out the English Foot Knights in melee. Come on, boys, come on. It's kind of hard to tell who is who here. This guy is going ham here in the center. There we go, finally gets his kill. He's pushed down pretty much the entire battle line after his quarry and manages to take him down. And are the spearmen doing anything? It doesn't look like they are just yet. I love the battles on the flanks too as well. Oh, look at that, he goes for his foot, and as he kneels down, he delivers the killing blow. The English flag is bloodied. Is the Scottish flag flying? I don't think so, but there go the spears. They charge forwards down the slope, except for this guy. That would be me. I'd be like, I'd just do the yell, but then wait until all the unit moved in before. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, but I'm sure the Scottish are terrified at this point. They are outnumbered, they're in an unfamiliar city, they're in an unfamiliar land. Obviously, the English will be able to provide reinforcements faster than the Scottish could. And at this point, will it be even a victory for the Scottish if they manage to take this settlement? They've lost their king, they've lost one of their lords, they've lost over 11,000 of their greatest warriors to the English in the siege for York. But the spears are surprisingly holding pretty well. We do have the Billmen moving over here. It's getting a little bit laggy due to the amount of bodies lying in this general area. But look at this, guys. Oh my goodness, the Scottish were wavering just as the English were wavering as well, but the English broke first. And now we've got the Billmen moving forwards to form up in a defensive formation. Hopefully Joe actually takes advantage of this and quickly charges the Billmen before they have a chance to set up. It looks like that's exactly what's going to happen. Yes, huge charge onto the Billmen. This is very good for the English Foot Knights, because now they've gotten in amongst the Bill formation. You can see some of the units, or some of the men, are actually completely surrounded by English Billmen, though, which isn't ideal. But as I said, it's really disrupted their formation. 155 men to 69 men, so that is going to be a tough fight. But we do have these sergeants over here with 93 versus 92. Everything, guys, about this battle is so neck and neck. But I think if the English win it, it will be due to these Billmen. I would be surprised if the Scottish Foot Knights were able to break a full unit of billmen. But that being said, they've already lost 11 men and they're wavering. Their morale is very low. 20 morale for the Scottish Foot Knights, 31 morale for the English billmen. Man count 238, 37 Englishmen versus 150 Scots. This is probably one of the closest battles I have ever had on the channel. So was it worth watching an hour and 20 minutes of it? I would say so. I know that a lot of people don't really watch longer battles like this. On general, the audience probably watches about 10, that's pretty generous, 8 to 10 minutes of a particular battle. But if you don't make it to this point at the end, you are just missing out, because the entire battle has just been building to this one very close climax. And actually, the Scottish Foot Knights are doing really well disrupting this billman formation. And look at this one guy way at the back here. Let's see if he gets a kill. Looks like the billman animation is just too quick. There we go. The Scottishman is getting closer to the billman. So the billman is managing to keep him at bay. Let's see what's happening over here with these spears. Wow, so the spears broke the sergeants, but now the spears are wavering. Nope, and look at the balance of power. It's back neck and neck. 124 Englishmen to 139 Scots. And the Scottish Foot Knights are wavering. They are exhausted. The English billmen are about to waver. They are tired. If these spearmen can get here in time and rear charge them, then the Scottish have this battle. It all depends on these Scottish Knights holding, and they do get the charge off, but these Scottish Foot Knights break just in time, and the balance of power is back to the English. And the billmen have 122 men remaining. The Highland Spears have 76, and the Highland Spears are wavering. Oh my goodness. Oh, with 5 seconds left in the battle, I didn't see the final man count, but it was, I believe, 69 for the Scottish and 130 for the English. A Pyrrhic victory indeed. Let's quickly look at the results, and then we will end the battle here. 8,700, I believe, or 8,900 for the English and 11,000 for the Scottish. Taking a look at my men, 263 with the general, very good. Most of my units had pretty decent kills, but the MVPs of my army were the English Knights here, 754. If we didn't get that chain route against Bones' infantry, we would have lost the battle. So these guys saved the day. The Azarin Fox's force here also doing pretty well. Good kills on his archers. Look at that, 407. That's really good. I didn't even look at my archers. 476. That's really solid from those longbowmen. So good kills by those units there. Looking at Bones' units, his Gallic doing pretty solid. A lot of his infantry has low kills, though, due to that massive chain route that he had. But he got 184 kills with his catapult, and really good kills with his archers. Even the Scottish longbows doing really solid. A couple of his Scottish knights getting almost 200 kills. Very well done with what he had. And the King's Army, commanded by Joe, excellent kills with his Gallic. Even some of his Highland Spears, 131. That is really solid. And looking at the rest of his units, good kills with his archers as well. 200 kills over. Very impressed with the Hobblers at 263. That's a very cheap unit, and to get that many kills, it's very impressive. Also, his cavalry did well as well. So that concludes this Scottish 3-part series, guys. So hopefully you did enjoy, and it looks like the English have finally driven back the Scottish invaders, but the Scottish could come back in the next season after the winter and reignite the campaign. But unfortunately, both England and Scotland need to declare new kings because both were killed in this campaign. But thanks so much for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this in the future, and I will see you in the next one.